The capital city of the happiest country in the world is bound to have plenty of sports venues. That's probably the main criteria for determining the happiest country in the world, surely. So let's check out the stadiums and arenas of Helsinki, Finland. Where better to start than at Olympiastad in Helsinki? Yep, even though it was a city of less than 400,000 people at the time, Helsinki hosted the 1952 Summer Olympic Games. Starting in 2016, the stadium was renovated significantly over the course of 4 years. The most noticeable improvement following that redevelopment is the increased roof coverage. But also the old benches were replaced by new seats made from a wood composite. That new roof is also wooden, by the way. And of course, the interior spaces were refurbished. Other than that though, the design remains fairly similar to how it was in 1952. Which is a good thing, I suppose. Like many of the Olympic stadiums of the past, the building incorporates a rather large tower. This one is 72 meters high. Would you believe me if I told you it's the tallest tower in the city? Well, you shouldn't because it isn't, but it once was. Interestingly, one of the architects that designed this stadium won a gold medal at the 1948 Olympics. They had art competitions back then, including an architecture category. Nearby is Helsingin Jalkapalli. Before you even step inside this place, there are some interesting sights. A strange concrete sculpture which represents the spirit of concrete. A big glazed facade which represents the importance of transparency in government. And some wilderness amongst all the man-made stuff for good measure. During the first 2 decades of this venue's existence, it was the preeminent hockey arena in the country. Nowadays, it's not even the largest in the city. Yet it's still home to Helsinki's 2 biggest clubs. Why is that so? Well, we'll get to that later on. I don't think anyone's complaining about playing here though. It seems like a great venue, with some rather steep seating and a low ceiling, which is a good combination for an intimidating atmosphere. Also nearby is Bolt Arena. I assumed that this place was named after Bolt, Estonia's answer to Uber. But no, it's a completely unrelated company, also named Bolt. I was curious about their 4.5-star logo. Turns out they update it depending on their employee satisfaction ratings. It used to be 5 stars. As I alluded to, Finns pride themselves on transparency. Although I can't help but feel that Bolt would have a rebrand if it went down to 3.5 stars. Anyway, Bolt Arena is just the 6th largest stadium in Finland, yet it's the largest football-specific stadium in the country, meaning there are 5 larger stadiums that all have a running track around the field. Like the Olympic Stadium, this too has an artificial turf pitch. It did start off with a natural grass field, however it struggled to grow properly due to a lack of sunlight. So fair enough. It's still a solid all-round stadium. Enar Arena. If there's one thing Finns love more than transparency, it's ice hockey. But it's not the only indoor sport in town. This place is home to the Finnish national basketball teams, as well as a floorball team. If you're not familiar with floorball, well, it's basically just another type of hockey. A less frozen type of hockey, and it takes place on the floor, as opposed to the roof. That's what differentiates floorball from roofball. If you're not familiar with roofball, well, it's basically just another type of hockey. A less existent type of hockey. Anyway, for basketball, this little arena seems like a decent venue. For floorball, well, I really don't know what makes a good floorball arena. But I'm sure the small capacity isn't an issue. Next door is Mirostan Jalkapallo Stadion. This ground is so small that you'd assume it's home to a 3rd-tier club. It is, but they're not the primary tenant. It's also home to a club called PK35, who up until 2016 had both a men's and women's team. However, the men's team were relegated, declared bankruptcy, and were dissolved. But the women's team is still going strong in the top tier. Once again, this used to have a natural grass field, as you can see here, but it has since been replaced with plastic. There is at least plenty of real nature surrounding the stadium that makes up for that though. It also proves the claim that I made in an earlier video to be correct. Finland does have trees. See, this channel can sometimes be informative. Espoo Metro Arena. Just a reminder that while Espoo is its own distinct city, I always include the entire metropolitan area in these videos. And it is included as part of the Helsinki urban area as it's known. Oh, and in case you're wondering, whilst the name Espoo does contain effluent, the area is actually quite affluent. As for the arena, I'm sure you would have seen it already as you watched the European Figure Skating Championships that it hosted last year, right? What an event that was. But yeah, it does have a few interesting features, like the big arching roof that curves lengthways, and the octagonal video board scoreboard combination hanging from it. It seems that in Finland, the sports venues like to huddle together for warmth. Because Tapiolan Urheilupuisto is once again right next door to the arena. It makes sense. Although this has almost the same capacity as the stadium I struggled to pronounce earlier, it doesn't have much else in common. The stands here look almost like they are portable. The toilets are definitely portable. One positive here is the field, which is made from this kind of grass that it's sort of like a grass that grows by itself and you have to cut it. Very strange. Helsinki Arena. Despite being the city's largest indoor sports venue, this place is currently not in use. The reason being that it's owned by Russian oligarchs, and due to sanctions it has not been used since the invasion of Ukraine. Jokerit, this place's former tenant, used to compete in the Continental Hockey League, which is a mostly Russian competition. Just recently, the Helsinki City Board announced that they are attempting to somehow acquire the arena. Who knows, maybe they could rename it Molotov Arena after the Finnish creation that was used to fight off a Russian invasion. That's probably not happening. Either way, it's a shame that this world-class venue is a ghost town at the moment. So hopefully it all works out. Oh, I love what's going on up in the rafters. It's like an asymmetrical version of a Tron grid thing. Helsingin Velodromi. This is another Olympics remnant. Velodromes were almost exclusively outdoor venues back in those days. The spectators and cyclists might not be protected from the elements, but the building itself is protected from demolition, owing to its historical and architectural significance. As you can see, it's also used for American football. So it's like a smaller, simpler, less Italian version of Velodromo Vigorelli in that respect. I'll give a quick shout out to Tennis Palazzi, which is yet another Olympics venue. As you would expect, it hosted basketball. Yes, basketball. Tennis wasn't an Olympic event at the time. It doesn't host any sport now because in the late 90s it was converted into theatres, shops, an art museum called Ham, and other stuff. Tulan Kahol is the oldest venue you will see in this video, having opened in 1935. It's experienced a lot in those years, from hosting several events at those aforementioned Olympics, to nearly being burnt down in the 60s, to being attacked by a wild herd of fire trucks just a few moments later. Despite decreasing in prominence, it is still going strong, hosting basketball, concerts and more. As you can see, it still has a very vintage look to it, especially those green curtains up there. Is there a stage back there? That would seem dangerous. Maybe it's used for storage. We'll never know. There's not that much information about this place out there. That's why I'm talking about curtains. And those were the Stadiums of Helsinki. Please consider subscribing if you're new around here. And as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.